Hello, people. My innovation with again as always, Andrew, as usual. Yeah, you can see what time it is. I will be discussing, or I shall be discussing, better said, the Sixth Pentacle of Saturn. Yeah, from the Great Tricky of Solomon, Order of the Pentacles, obviously. Now, let me recite. The Sixth Pentacle of Saturn. Around this pentacle is each name symbolized as it should be. The person against whom thou shalt pronounce it shall be obsessed by demons. And then the editorial note, it is formed from mystical characters of Saturn. Around it is written in Hebrew, set thou a wicked one to be ruler over him, and let Satan stand at his right hand. Now, what I'll specifically be discussing, as the header of this video states, as is customarily the case, um, is how the pentacle works in detail. It's gonna be really short. Let me see. Um, yeah, taken directly from my notes, and then I'll elaborate. It'll do so by energetically influencing the target individual and subsequently making him or her mentally unstable, specifically erratic in behavior, and cause them to have a lot of dualistic slash contradictory thoughts of a mundane nature. He will become depressed and emotionally unstable as well, with all the negative consequences to accompany it. The mental pressure and overall negative state of mind will trigger physical illness or illnesses as well, and in between brackets of a chronic nature. Lastly, the person will feel as if they're the object of hostility, so as if they have a persecutions complex. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how this pentacle operates, in case anyone was wondering. Yeah, this pentacle is, I want to say by far, but just plain one of the most dangerous, especially if you're the average person. One of the most dangerous magical or occult or esoteric implements that I've come across. The damage it can do to an individual that is at the receiving end or on the receiving end is like I described, summarized. The person will literally and figuratively speaking lose their mind. And in the extremest cases, from the sheer or just plain sheer mental pressure, can die after a lot of agony, pain, and suffering and whatnot. Think of someone being under so much mental pressure that they become disoriented and are essentially incapable of functioning in day-to-day life. That's pretty much what this pentacle will do to any individual that it is aimed at, provided that everything is done right and that all the beneficial factors and conditions and circumstances and so on and so forth are in place. And usually, when someone is under that kind of level of mental pressure, not only can they not function, but it also subsequently leads to physical illnesses. Not like usually illnesses that are hard to not only diagnose, but also especially hard to get rid of by conventional medicinal methods or through conventional medicine. Um, that's why I said chronic illnesses, illnesses that essentially don't want to go away because, again, the root cause of the illness is mental in nature and not physical the way default medical practices treat it as such. And like I said, that level of overwhelming pressure over an extended or extensive amount of time will cause you to simply kick the bucket. Um, so yeah. So again, just to paint like an as vivid picture as possible, you're like, meh, I have someone to destroy. I'm gonna use this pentacle on the person. Oh, glorious Saturn, blah blah blah. You do everything right, the person doesn't really have any kind of protection against them or anything like that. Well, again, the person will start losing their mind. The person will behave erratically, like all of a sudden twitching and stuff, and the person will contradict themselves. It's like they don't know what they want, going back and forth, literally and figuratively. And any neutral bystander is like, what the hell is wrong with you? Why are you acting like you're losing your mind all of a sudden? Because the person is losing their minds. And yeah, it just goes on. The person will have a dark cloud hanging over their heads, become depressed, and so on and so forth. And their life as a result will fall apart because, hey, what's up? What's happening to you? Boss is going to tell them you can't, you're missing several deadlines, and before you know it, the person is fired, can't find another job, is out on the street on their ass. Um, and yeah, it just goes on like that. The person contracts the aforementioned chronic illness or illnesses, some twitch or something, and the person turns into one of those crazy homeless people you see alongside the street talking to themselves or something, utterly delusional, flipping out, losing their minds. Yeah, the reason why I cover this pentacle, something that might be interesting to you guys, is is because I wanted to know. I was simply superficially curious, and since today is Saturday, Saturn is literally at its strongest for me. It's currently 3:07 p.m. Locally, and I'm in the second hour of Saturn on a Saturday. So yeah, not to mention the fact that the location I'm in, so Latvia, is Saturn's domain pretty much, to say the least. So yeah, it unsurprisingly, it's not a coincidence, obviously, that I'm covering it on this day. Doesn't have to be the case, but more often than not. And yeah, in case you were wondering, I simply wanted to know if it was meant literally that the person will be obsessed with demons, because I've assumed that as well in the time that I've known this pinnacle, so to speak. I thought to myself, I'm assuming it's to be taken literally. But then I got to thinking today, like an hour or two ago, and I said to myself, I wonder if it's meant literally or figuratively or both. Because when someone says, hey, you'll become obsessed by demons, the same way that someone uses the phrase, I overcame my own personal demons, obviously it's not meant literally. It can be meant literally, especially if the person is like an exorcist or an occultist or something. But more conventionally, it's used as a metaphor for hardship and burdens that someone had that, generally speaking, were placed upon them through no fault of their own. You name it, stuff like that. Okay. For example, an abusive parent would be seen as a demon, or the damage that the abusive parent committed towards you, more generally speaking. Yeah, would be considered, hey, demons. I overcame my own demons. I dealt with all my own shit, bluntly put. Um, so yeah, in this case, it is, I want to say, more metaphorically than literally. It's both in essence, honestly, but it's more metaphorically. So think not so much that the person will literally be. I don't blame anyone for thinking that, because even I thought that. You would think so as well. You see an occult implement, blah 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 blah, da, 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 demons. So you think they're literally demons. But no, that's not so much the case. Okay, it's meant more metaphorically. Okay, I don't doubt really that the person might see the entities that do damage to that individual, but it will be more of a psychological nature. It'll just be overall destructive, as in, hey, the person won't literally so much be obsessed by demons, but the person will simply become a victim of the aforementioned events and afflictions and vice versa that I described. And again, in the extremest of cases, the person could die from prolonged exposure to that level of potent negativity. But simultaneously, usually when you see someone, for example, talk to themselves, you chalk it up to being crazy, the average person. But in some cases, the person might literally see the spirits or the entities tormenting them. And the ones that are directly responsible or indirectly, whatever, the ones that are just plain responsible in a more direct sense for their suffering. That is all later.